today's episode of the Red Pill Investor. My name is John Ashley, a pseudonym of a realtor here in the great state of Arizona, here to help you with your real estate sales skills. Why? Well, it's just sort of my way to pay it forward for all the people who've given me the tips, the tricks, the things to say to get the contract signed when I needed it the most. Their only request of me, well, just simply pay it forward, and this is my opportunity to you. And thank you so much for downloading today's episode number 421. What price will you pay for success? What price will you pay for success? You know, I can't explain it, but somehow I was reminded this week of a story that was one of my favorites, actually, as a child. And I wanted to share it with you because I thought it was really appropriate for what we're trying to accomplish in real estate. You know, it comes really from the Bible, Genesis chapter 22. And if it's okay with you, I'd share it with you here. And it's the story of Abraham being tested. And as the Bible recounts it, it says that sometime later, God tested Abraham, and he said to him, "Abraham." "And here I am," said Abraham, right? And then God said, "Take your son, your only son, whom you love, Isaac," as if he's going to forget which one he's talking about, right? "And go to the region of Moriah. Sacrifice him there as a burnt offering on a mountain I will show you." Early the next morning, Abraham got up, loaded his donkey, took with him 2 of his servants and his son Isaac. And when he'd cut enough wood for the burnt offering, he set out for the place that God had told him about. And on the 3rd day, Abraham looked up and saw the place in the distance. He said to his servants, "Stay here with the donkey while I and the boy go over there. We will worship, and then we will come back to you." Abraham took the wood for the burnt offering and placed it on his son Isaac, and he himself carried the fire and the knife. As the 2 of them went on together, Isaac spoke up and said to his father, "Abraham, father." "Yes, my son," Abraham replied. "Well, the fire and the wood are here," Isaac said. "But where's the lamb for the burnt offering?" Abraham answered, "God himself will provide the lamb for the burnt offering, my son." And the 2 of them went off together. When they reached the place God had told him about, Abraham built an altar there and arranged the wood on it. He bound his son Isaac and laid him on the altar on top of the wood. And then he reached out his hand and took the knife to slay his son. But the angel of the Lord called out to him from heaven, "Abraham, Abraham." "Here I am," he replied. "Don't lay a hand on that boy," he said. "Don't do anything to him. Now that I know you fear God, because you've not withheld from me your son, your only son." Abraham looked up, and there in the thicket he saw a ram caught by its horns. He went over to the ram and sacrificed it as a burnt offering instead of his son. So Abraham called that place, "The Lord will provide." Now the angel to the Lord called him from a second time and said, "I swear by myself, declares the Lord, that because you've done this and not withheld your son, your only son, I will surely bless you and make your descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky and the sand on the seashore. Your descendants will take possession of the cities of their enemies, and through your offspring, all nations on earth will be blessed because you have obeyed me. The reason why I want to share that story with you is because I think it gives us some pretty universal truths that we can apply to our real estate business today. So if you've got a pen and you got a paper, let me share them with you today. The first thing I would point out is that, Abraham had to move forward in spite of fear. Isaac was his only son. So for him, that's a pretty important thing. In that day and age, they had a bloodline that they had to be concerned about. And it wasn't as if he was exactly a spring chicken. According to the Jewish historian Josephus, he said that Isaac was 25 years at the time. He was 25 years old. Well, that would make Abraham somewhere about 115, 125-ish, right? So God is telling a 115-year-old man to go climb a mountain, kill his 25-year-old son, and burn him as a sacrifice. I don't know about you, but to me, that seems pretty hard to do. I'm 45 and I'm a pretty good salesperson, but I think I'm pretty unable to sell a 25-year-old into letting me kill him and burn him. I just don't think I'm able to do that. So I imagine that Abraham was probably a little scared. And how many times have you felt that kind of fear? Feeling this drive to do something for some reason. But you're daunted by the size of the task. What did you do in that moment? Did you retreat? Did you shrink back? Did you lower your standards of what you would expect in your life? Did you say no to opportunities that were presented you because you were afraid? See, the hardest part of success is obedience. It's obedience to your dreams. Your dreams of heaven, your dreams of Bora Bora, your dreams of freedom, your dreams of whatever. The hardest part of success is obedience to that dream. To be successful, you have to be obedient to your dreams. Now, clearly, I'm not suggesting you go homicidal on things. No, of course not. But let me ask you a question. What are you willing to give up for your dreams? I think for you and I, metaphorically speaking, Abraham was willing to even try to kill his son. Remember, God said for him to do it, not that it would be easy. For you and I, what this means is you got to be willing to kill a few sacred cows in your life. Many times, it's my belief. Maybe I'm wrong. But when you say, I want success, but I'm not willing to do X, that's the very reason why you're not getting the results you want. That's the very reason why. It's because your unwillingness to sacrifice a few sacred cows in your life. You got to remain open, coachable. Think about it. I've got no reason to harm you or your business. I don't need to sugarcoat it. I can be honest with you. You know, Abraham's told to kill his son. He doesn't know how. He doesn't know why. He doesn't know the where or anything. He's torn by the love of his son, the real world implications of dying childless without an heir, and as well as the absolute possibility of failing. Losing his own life in the process. All in the obedience to the voice of God. He didn't know how or why, but he moved forward in faith, trusting that God had no reason to hurt him or his family. Moving forward in faith, he came to the second truth. If I was going to write something down, point number 2, your ways are not always the best. The Bible says in Jeremiah 29:11 that, "For I know the plans that I have for you," declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. I think about how that must have been. How did Abraham sell Isaac into letting himself become bound and put on the wood? Somehow Abraham sold Isaac on this. And as he's ready to plunge the knife deep into his chest, God stays his hand. And from a thicket, they see a ram, right? It's not a boy, it's a ram. It's a stinky sheep, got thickets, got bristles and brambles in it. It's dirty. It's clearly not a 25-year-old guy. God provides his own sacrifice. When you think about God, God, the ultimate rehabber, had every specific buyer's list, right? He didn't want a bull. He didn't want doves. He didn't want a ram. He wanted his son. That's an impossible deal for you to find. But at the closing table, when Abraham's found the deal, had it all tied up, and is ready to execute the deal, God calls off the closing. How many times has something like that happened to you? How many times has a deal fell through at the very last minute and you're left wondering why? Fortunately, like most rehabbers who say they want one thing, they're willing to take another. Just because things don't work out the way you planned doesn't mean it's a bad thing. Isaac was happy, obviously, and Abraham was too. But not only did they get to live another day and avoid a lifetime of regret, they got access to a very powerful third truth. There are 3 benefits of obedience. 3 benefits of obedience. See, it's my belief that if you're listening to this podcast, it's because you have some small, quiet voice in your heart that yearns to be free. You see real estate investing as your path, but you're scared. You're afraid of the costs. You're afraid that you don't want to sacrifice your family. You don't want to sacrifice your time. You just simply don't want to sacrifice. In order to get God's blessing, Abraham was willing to sacrifice his only son or die trying. Many people won't sacrifice an hour getting up early to get one extra deal per month? What are you willing to give up for your dreams? Listen, because Abraham was willing to give up everything, God promised him a legacy, victory over his enemies. And through him, all nations would be blessed. And I believe that the same principles apply to you when you follow your dreams. When you're willing to follow your dreams unquestioningly, without reservation, without knowing what direction that you're going to have to take. You're always moving. You're always taking action. When you obey your dreams, you can't be stopped. There's just something about supernatural about a salesperson with a made-up mind. He accomplished the impossible sale. He persuaded a 25-year-old man to get tied up, put on sticks, and be killed. That's incredible from a purely sales point of view, of course. But even that, God had something even better. Because of your obedience to your dreams, you won't necessarily have to give up everything, but you must be willing to. It's more than just sitting in your tent and saying, yeah, God, you know me, I'm down for everything. I got your back, I'll do anything. Listen, you got to go to the mountaintop. You got to sweat. It's not easy for a 115-year-old man to go to the top to follow his dreams. It's not going to be easy to make it happen, but because you're willing to sacrifice everything, and you've proven it time and time and time again, just like Abraham, I'm here at the mountaintop, God, now what? I'm telling you, when you've swiped the sweat off your brow and you've bound up what's important to you and you feel like you're about to give the very last drop you can give, that is when things are going to happen for you. Simply because of your obedience to your dreams, your perseverance through the pain, your willingness to follow despite your fear. You get the blessings that this business gives you, the ones you've deserved. Numerous transactions like stars in the sky. Because of your skills, you possess and defeat your competitors. And because of the numbers of transactions that you do, your deals will bless your community. Why? Simply because you obeyed your inner voice. Have a powerful sales day.